probably all recognize him. He's very generous, donates his time in the schools all the time. And what's this week? What are we celebrating? Dr. Seuss's birthday. That's Read Across America. So Mr. McKinnon was nice enough to come in today and read one of our favorite Dr. Seuss stories. So I want best behavior, good manners, good listening ears. Welcome, Mr. McKinnon.
This is on the Lorax now, you know, there's a movie coming down. Anybody gonna go to that movie? You know, so it's a good movie, I hear, but I don't think it matches this. But nonetheless, it's probably a good movie. This is on the Lorax, and it starts off in a very dingy, damp way, and it said, at the far end of town, and the brittle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows. No birds ever sing, excepting old crows in the street on the lifted Lorax. And you get down this street, and he comes to this old house, and it says, deep in the brittle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. So it was lifted away. I'll try to show you all this stuff. You gotta see that. You gotta see a little bit of the picture. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is. Yeah. What was a Lorax, and why is it there, and why was it lifted and taken somewhere in the far end of town where the brittle grass grows and the Onceler still lives here? Ask him, he knows. The Onceler is the fella that lives in this house here. There he lives. You see his little eyes looking out though. He just looks out once in a while. Do you see it back there?
No.
No, you can't see the eyes.
I can't really see.
You can see it. Front row, you see it, back row. See, you sit in the back so you don't get called on, then you can't see the little eyes. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock on his door. He stays in his lurkum on the top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffed moof. And one kind of dark midnight in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and he tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. You gotta give him some money. Still can't see him back. Just a little, in that little spot right there, that's him looking out. You can see him. Here is the little pail. You gotta put the money in the pail. Okay. On the end of the rope and let down the tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and a shell from a great grandfather snail. That's not a bad price. Where do you find it? I don't know. Where do you find it? Well, here he is again. Maybe you see a little better back there in the 10-cent seats. Well, then he pulls up the pail and he makes most careful count, and he sees that you paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him, always in his snuff and his cigarette strange hole in his Graveloch glove. And then he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, and the cigarettes, I tell you, are for your ears alone. So he's got this little, do you ever see those tin cans where they have the wire and you listen to, you know those now? Your parents or grandparents used to use those all. Talk, you talk into it, you know? Slurp. Down the slurp of the whisper of a phone to your ear, and the old Onceler whispers are very clear. And then they have to come down through the snurgly hose, and the sound as if it was smushed bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back such a long time ago. I'll tell the story. Now this is nice. And when you go to the movies, you'll see this. Is it in 3D? do the right thing.
I think it's 3D.
You pay an extra 50 cents, you get it in 3Ds.
More.
That could be 3D.
I will see.
But that would be pretty in 3D. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean, and the songs of the Swansea rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees and the truffle of trees and the bright colored troughs of the truffle of trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. Well, isn't that nice? I think it's nice. Think it's nice? Sometimes I clip these pages together, it gets you through the book quicker, but you don't know what's talking. Okay. And under the trees saw a bobble of boots, frisking about in their babaloo suits, and they played in the shade of the trifle of fruits. From the rippleless pond come the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. That's what I found. Kind of fun. I forget you guys over there. Am I showing it to you at all? Sometimes I forget you guys in the corner. Just see, can you see it? She's so nice, she's pleasant. You're being nice to me sometimes. I don't turn it all the way around. Just go all the way around. You can see. It's the back seats that are still on. But those trees, those truffle of trees, and all my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of the stuffs was so softer than silk, and they sweet smell and fresh butterfly milk. I feel a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew it, what I can do. I unloaded my cart, so now he's ready to stay there. He likes it. Amen. Someday if I see you, let me know if the movie's the same. Sometimes the movies are the same. In no time at all, I had built a small shop, and I chopped down a truffle tree with one chop. And with the great skillful skills and the great speedy speed, I took the soft tufts and I knitted with knees. So that's called a sneed. I took years to write this book. This was very, really hard stuff. That's why all those words are so different. The words are different. In the instant I finished, I heard a gazoop, and I looked and I saw something pop out of a stump in the tree I chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. That's
Laura.
Okay, this is what he's making. Did you buy one of these things here? Maybe. That's the question, right? How much? Mister, he said, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the laureate, and I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I ask you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was upset and shouted and puffed, well, what's that thing you've made out of my tuffle tufts? Here it is. You $5? $5?
50 cents.
50 cents. Don't say 50 cents. Scottish. We're here from a Scottish Bible class. Look, Lawrence, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a need. The sneeds if I find something that all people need. It's the shirt, it's the sock, it's the glove, it's the hat. It's for other uses, yes, beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, for curtains, for covers, for bicycle seats. The laureate said, sir, you are crazy with greed. There's no one on earth who would buy that fool sneed. Look at it. Wouldn't you know? Somebody bought it. Oh, did you get in the picture? No, he didn't get in the picture. A little complaint from the 5-cent seat. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just at that minute, a chap came along, and he thought that the need I had knitted was great. He happily brought it for $3.98.
Price?
$3.98.
Yeah.
I laughed at the Lawrence, you poor stupid guy, you never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat to the Lawrence, I speak for the trees, I'm busy. I told him, shut up if you please. I'm going to say that. Shut up. I rushed across the room with no time at all, built a radio phone. I picked up the call. I called my brothers and uncles and aunts and said, listen here, here's the wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast, take the north niche, turn left on the Weehawken and shop right on south Snitch. And there they are, they're all there now, all the relatives. All the freeloaders, all the relatives are there working. Make some money.
Well, I would make some money for nothing.
Yeah, for doing nothing. Making sneeze. Say that. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the Onceler family was working full tilt, and we were knitting sneeze, just busy as bees, and the sounds of the chopping of the truffle of trees, and there they are, cutting a whole bunch at one time. Mass production. It says here, then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow, so quickly I invented a super axe hacker, and I whacked off 4 tuffalo trees at one smacker. And we were making sneeze 4 times as fast as before, and the Lawrence, he didn't show up anymore. Uh-oh, he's back. You just can't get rid of this guy, huh? Popping up.
Of the world?
It says here, but the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lawrence who speaks for the trees, which I've seen by the chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the Babaloots, and we play with the shade of the Babaloot suits and happily lived eating truffle of fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffle of fruits to go around, and my poor Babaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas, no food in there. Tommy, you guys could have written this. Why are we paying this guy to do it? He could have written that. You got one word. Better than some classes, the last class. They love living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and they sent them away. I once felt sad as I watched them go, but business is business, and business must grow regardless of the crummies and the tummies you know. Now we know where I have the guy usually getting out. Yeah. I meant no harm, I most truly did not, but I did have to grow bigger, so bigger I got, and the bigger my factories, and the bigger my roads, the bigger my wagons, the bigger the loads. The needs I shipped out, I shipping them forth and south and east and west and north, and went right on biggering, selling more needs. I biggering my money, which everyone needs. Everybody needs money. This is looking sad now, though. You see that? Beat up, huh? Then again he came back, and I was fixing some pipes when the old nuisance Lawrence came back with more gripes. I am the Lawrence, he coughed and he whiffed and he sneezed and he snuffed and he snaggered and he sneezed, and Onceler he cried out in a crocoflux crock, Onceler, you're making such a smuggle of smoke, my poor swanny swans, why they can't sing a note, no one can sing who has smog in their throat. Okay, we're back. Oh, wow. This is really good. That's bad. That's okay, I do that. And so, said the Lorix, please pardon my cough, they cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know, but they cannot fly for a month or a year to escape the smog that you've smogged up around here. So he created so much, oh, this is tough. See, chemical waste. Heard about that. What's more, said the Lorix, his dander was up. Let me say a few words about the gluppity glup. The machine chugs on day and night without stop and makes a gluppity glup and the sloppily slop. And what do they do with the leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old once-a man, you. Oh, he's getting nasty now. He's losing his temper, control, mind. You could write this, no one would complain to you. Still got, look, $5. You're glumping the pond with the hummingbird fish hummed. No more can they hum, for the gills are all gummed, and so I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary, and they're walking in the fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. You wouldn't get that. You wouldn't get that, would you? Smeary? Yeah, smeary. Word, I wouldn't get that. Smeary. It's a word. And then I got mad, I got terribly mad, and I yelled at the Lorix, now listen here, Dad, you do the yap yap and say bad, 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 well, I have my right, sir, and I'm telling you I intend to go on what I do, and for your information, you Lorix, I'm fingering and biggering and biggering and biggering, turn more tougher trees into needs, which everyone needs. That. Uh-oh. The last tree being cut. And that very moment I heard a whack, and from the outside the fields came a sickening smack, and the ox on the tree. Then were heard the tree fall, and the very last truffle tree of them. Oh. See, you get, yeah, you're gonna roll. It's too late now. All right, you got it. These are all gone. Fish are all gone. Birds are all gone. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time at all, my uncles and aunts and everyone all waved goodbye, and they jumped into their cars and drove away in the smoke-smogged stars. And now that there's what's left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorix and I. So the only one left now is this guy. Remember him peeping out, you couldn't see him. And the Lorix. Whoops! There was the Lorix. Now you gotta pay attention, because he's on his way. These people are very good in this. Usually they ring a bell on me and say, you're reading too slow, Mckinnon. Get with it. Then the Lorix said nothing, and I gave me a glance, and I gave him a very sad backward glance. And as it lifted himself in the seat of the pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he heisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. That was tough. Did you get that?
Yep.
Yeah. The prize for you was in the 12th grade. You have to be waiting for that. Graduate. And then all that Lorix left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks and the word unless. And whatever that meant, well, I couldn't know or guess. And a long, long ago, but each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my buildings has fallen apart. I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the onceler, now that you're here, and the words of the Lorix seem perfectly clear, unless someone like you cares a whole lot about it, nothing is going to get better. It's it's not. This is the big finish. You'll see this in the movies. Maybe they'll put you in it. No? Sure, why not? Why not?
No, I'm too scared.
Would you be scared to be in a movie? You never know. You're the kind of guy they do this to. So, catch calls the onceler. He's let something fall. It's the tuffle seed. It's the last one of all, and you're in charge of the last of the tuffle seeds. And the tuffle trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new tuffle, treat it with care, give it clean water, give it fresh air, grow a forest, protect it from the axe that hacks, that the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. See, you finished strong, right? That. So you gotta try to plant the seed, to plant the tree, to get the place back. Can you do that? Can that happen?
Over the years,
Great class.
Well, not only is Mr. Mckinnon our selectman, but he's also a retired teacher.
That's right, 29 years. Tom?
You know how important reading is.
And I know a good class when I see one. This is a good class. Get down.
So what do we say to Mr. McKinnon for coming in on the snowy day?
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.